everybody. Hello. I hate to do this, but yes, you can hear me. Especially when people stop talking, you'll be able to hear me. They can't hear me very well. Thank you, whoever that was. I won't whistle into these microphones. It really might get your ears. Can you hear me now? A little better? Well, I'm loud, so but I think you probably should bring up the mics because I'm hearing that. Yes. Okay, now I have to stop directing from the podium, my other job. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the spring opening meeting. The weather's not like spring, but I always feel like we're ready for a new beginning at this January meeting, and so that's why spring, it seems funny to have a spring meeting, but it's for the spring semester, and I am ready for a new beginning, as everybody always is the beginning of every semester. So welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the faculty who just starts back today. I hope you're fully rested and ready for the challenges. Everyone else, thanks for all your hard work that supports the mission and supports all of our efforts, too. I think that's great. And thanks to everybody for being at this meeting on such a really yucky day. I'm glad you braved the rain and the traffic jams and everything to be here. I think that's wonderful. And one more thank you, and that's to the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus, all of you who welcomed us this morning and are welcoming us today for this event, because we really like seeing the campus. I learned a new thing this morning, was just pointed out that we have these balcony seats. You can bet I'm going to be in there next year and not here, because you can see so well from up there. So it's a great campus, and I'm glad we get to explore each other's campuses when we come to these meetings. I think that's great. It's been an interesting first half of the academic year for me. I learned a lot. I've done my best to represent the faculty point of view in various settings, but I also feel like a part of a team that I'm really representing a Montgomery College employee, and I feel like that's my role, the whole MC team, and I really work hard to keep everyone in mind. That's part of the mission of the Academic Assembly. It's not just the faculty. It's to advise and facilitate and to participate in the development and review of college-wide policies and procedures. So it's really to participate, to make sure that you're there and that your view is heard, and to make sure that if someone comes to you with a point of view, that you represent that, and I think that's really important. I've had the privilege of participating in some real progress this first semester, and I'm going to go through a couple very quickly, but you have a lot more to hear from other people who are the experts in those things. I wanted to touch on the periodic review report because it's really in full swing, and that's something that has to do with our accreditation. It's our halfway through our 10-year report to middle states. It's a lot of work because there's been a turn everywhere, not just in education, but in business and everywhere, for more accountability and more reporting. And we don't just have to be great, but we actually have to put it on paper, why we are great and how we plan to stay great in the future. And that's a tough job, and I really applaud the co-chairs of this committee, Eric Benjamin and Sharon Fechter, who are working really hard at this middle point. They're right on track to get this done. So here's a couple notes they gave me to tell you. The PRR working groups are currently finishing their drafts and preliminary findings. It's broken down into 4 working groups, 4 parts of the report. Those groups include assessment, and no other than Ben Nicholson. You guys can all expect that, right? As the chair there. Challenges and opportunities is a work group that's chaired by Sharon Fechter. Enrollment and finance trends, that's the business part, is chaired by Eric Benjamin. And planning and budget alignment, aligning our plans with the budget, which is really being asked for in a lot of places these days, and that's with Kathy Westman as the chair. The preliminary draft of the report, all of this writing will be done, probably has been done over the last 2 weeks, a lot of it. It'll be uploaded to MyMC in early April, so there's still a little time on our timeline. In early April, for your consideration and comment. The coordinating committee will then conduct a series of meetings on all campuses this spring to discuss the preliminary findings and solicit input and evaluation from all constituency groups regarding the periodic review report. So once it's out there, we're going to have meetings. We're going to not make you sit and write a long email. You can just come to the meeting and tell us what you think, okay? Or you can write that email response. That's fine, too. They're still in the process of incorporating changes and developments in MC policies and procedures, including the new strategic plan, the Common Student Experience, which we'll hear some more about today from President Pollard, and the governance model, which we'll hear more about today from the Blue Ribbon Committee. So those are sort of the major things that they're concerned with, making sure It's tough to pinpoint where we'll be when the day the report is entered, because we're in such a dynamic stage right now. And so I think that's the big goal they have, and seems to be working out well. In strategic planning, keep an eye on your emails from strategic planning or Inside MC Online for that. I'm involved in the process, and the meetings are very productive. There's a lot going on, but I did hear just before the break from a few people that they're not sure where it stands. Well, again, it's dynamic, so where it stands today might not be where it stands a week from now, but please keep an eye open, because once I heard that, I said, well, very first thing when we get back, we need to get a summary and get it out to people to make sure they understand where we are in that process. So that's a lot of changes. There are going to be some changes. There already have been, because we need to live up to those middle states and MHEC. We need to live up to those standards. And because we have to adjust to a challenging business environment here in Montgomery County. Some of these changes you may like, some you may tolerate, and some won't sit so well with you, but remember to try and see it from other perspectives. And continue to give us your perspective. In the Academic Assembly and next year's governance, we'll have plenty of place for you to give your perspective, for you to give your views. So that's really important to remember. Remember my mantra, and that is participate. As they speak, as you hear about the governance, try to figure out where you'll fit in. Don't forget in the nomination process to nudge your friend who you think would be perfect for that position, or jump into it yourself. I think this is a great way. I can attest to it. It's a great way to get to know what's going on around the college. It's a great way to get to know your colleagues, which I think has been one of the big bonuses. And so really get a feel for it when they're presenting this. Keep your ears and eyes open for where will I fit into that new governance system, because it is participatory with a capital P, let me tell you. Okay? So I really just want to thank everyone for all your input so far this year. And now I would like to turn it over to I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Brad Stewart, who will be greeting you from the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus. Good morning, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne, and welcome, everybody, to the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus and to the spring semester 2012. I tried to do a little bit about the weather, but I mistimed it. When I got here at 7 o'clock in the morning, it stopped raining. But then about an hour later, it started raining again. So I hope that it will quit in another hour when you head out to your discipline meetings. One of my favorite things about working at Montgomery College is that we get to start anew 2 or 3 times a year. We get to start anew to help our students achieve their dreams and to empower them to change their lives. And I can't think of a better job. So I love the first day of class. I love the opening meeting of the semester. And I love graduation, where we mark their successes. So I'm looking forward to spring semester. I'm especially looking forward to May and graduation. As John Lennon said, it's just like starting over. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Durian Pollard, the groundbreaking, history-making, earth-shaking president of Montgomery College. Dr. Pollard?
Groundbreaking and earth-shaking. I'm going to leave that for interpretation, right? Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. I am delighted to be here to offer some comments to you. I hope that each of you who has been away has had the opportunity to return back more relaxed, refreshed, rejuvenated, and looking forward to, I hope, will be some very significant personal goals you have, as well as some professional ones that the college will be engaging over the next year. I want to take a few minutes today. I'm going to be mindful of the time that I have been allotted, and I want to talk with you about several things, and I'm going to cast them, which I think Joanne did a wonderful job earlier in the email she sent to you, talking about one college. Before I do that, let me transport you to another institution, if you don't mind. A community college that looks very much like our own, a multi-campus institution in a large urban area, and it sits in a place and a time that's very unique, but also very similar to the one in which we are in at Montgomery College. In the book, Community Colleges on the Horizon, they present profiles of various institutions in a fictional way so that you can't quite tell who they are. I have a little inside track, and I know a few of those institutions. But one of the things they tell us is about Harrison College. It serves as an example of how a community college can adapt, innovate, and unite to create a better and stronger future for its students, its faculty, and its staff. Harrison College has weathered a recession and slashed funding, yet remains a model of excellence. But how, you might ask? By employing innovative practices, encouraging active leadership across all levels of the institution, forming cutting-edge partnerships with local businesses, using focused programming and extensive collaboration, clearly articulating its vision and direction, and being transparent in its actions. During the last 18 months, I might offer to you that Montgomery College has undergone similar initiatives. We started the Innovation Fund to encourage out-of-the-box thinking by our faculty and staff about how students learn. We are transforming our governance system to encourage active leadership across all levels of the organization and among all issues. We have formed rewarding partnerships with local businesses. We have started collaborating across campuses to create focused, individualized attention on the common student experience. And we have instituted new mission, vision, and core value statements that clearly articulate who we are as an organization. And we have revamped, and might I suggest we're still in the process of doing so, our central services to be consistent and transparent, even launching our renewed classification study after receiving feedback about the success of that. We have undertaken many varied and diverse initiatives. Recently, though, one of our talented faculty members gave me a call, as happens from time to time, and said to me, quote, because I wrote this down, "Listen, most of us get the importance of all these disparate initiatives, but what is the big picture?" In fact, that's exactly what she said that I should talk about today, connecting the dots and explaining the method behind Darian's madness to a certain extent. So in the spirit of that wise advice from that colleague, since I know many of you often wonder, who exactly is she listening to? I heard that question a lot. I want to share with you the big picture, the why. The answer is that we are all creating an organization tightly coupled, even more relevant to the needs of our students, our community, and our employees. We are indeed becoming one Montgomery College. Many years ago, this college decided to have multiple campuses, all individually responsible for student development, counseling, advising, support services, offering a broad array of academic programs. And I know that each and every one of our campuses serves our students with excellence and great pride. And I know that each of you works every day to ensure that we are meeting the needs of the students that we serve and the community that we have been charged to serve. And I thank you. I'm grateful for that. Every day when I go into the community, I hear from members of our community about the impact that this college has in our community. And if we are to work together to create one true college, our individual campuses will be better positioned to provide our students with common experience and opportunities to excel. As I mentioned in the fall meeting, though, I don't want the campuses to be a cookie-cutter version of one another. We're not committed to ensuring that everyone looks the same and everyone does the same thing every day. What I would say, though, is that we are committed to honoring the unique strengths that drive each of our campuses and locations. But we would be stronger as an institution as a whole, I believe, if we're united around a common purpose. Let's look at our own backyard for a strong model of blending consistency and uniqueness. Now, I know that we're not a business. I understand that. And a few of you are going to say, why are you going to use a business example? But I like it because this is in our own backyard. It's a strong Montgomery County business, and it's one that has been a strong partner with our institution. And it shows how to provide dependable service without sacrificing personality. And I would offer to you Marriott. Their lobbies look different. Their geographical locations are different. Their rooms have different layouts. And yet you know when you enter a Marriott what to expect when you walk through those doors. In fact, its website says that the company seeks to, quote, reach across cultural borders to embrace the unique gifts and talents of the communities that we live and serve. Embracing uniqueness while providing consistency and ideal service, that is our goal. That is what I mean when I say the common student experience. And I believe the key to that is innovation. In his book, The Medici Effect, best-selling author Franz Johansson introduces a life-changing way of thinking about, quote, the intersection of ideas, concepts, and cultures, where diverse experiences produce exceptional ideas. He finds that not only can we learn from each other, but we can also learn from each other. We have to do that in order to innovate and survive. Let's look at a clip of him explaining this concept.
We can shift. We can connect. It requires us to reverse our assumptions. Assumptions are reversed. Take, for instance, the notion of cement, right? You can look at that and you can make the assumption that you can't see through it. It's not see-through. But what happens if you decide to connect cement with optical fibers? These are glass rods, essentially, that will conduct light. If you lay them horizontally across the cement, you should be able to build a wall, but you would make that wall see-through. Okay? This is a hand. You can see it on the other side of the wall. The company in Hungary, Litracon, has done exactly that. They have taken walls, and then they pull these optical fibers, sometimes up to the ground. That means they can build basements with daylight. This is the way that you innovate. You innovate by making unusual connections, connecting things that are disparate.
So as an institution of academic excellence, and I would encourage you to go back, that's a TED Talk. Those of you who know TED Talks, I'm addicted to them. But this one is actually phenomenal when he talks about this particular concept, and he explores different examples of it. But the idea of having light-infused cement. Now, I know a few of y'all think that's a little crazy, but again, it was reversing assumptions. And I remain convinced, as phenomenal as Montgomery College is, that we are in a prime position in order to connect and innovate in ways that people may not have ever thought possible. So I want to go back to the start of his comment in his lesson. He says, we have to reverse our assumptions. Reverse our assumptions. That directly connects to how we can be successful at blending and making ourselves more holistically one institution. No matter how well-intentioned a multi-campus model is, it is rest upon certain assumptions that can never really achieve a common student experience. And I want to talk to you about these three assumptions that we must reverse, I think, if we really want to be one college at Montgomery College. Assumption one, we are holding ourselves accountable even when we are inconsistent in our approach to services and academics across our campuses. Our assumption, in my opinion, is incorrect. We are not accountable when we lack consistency. Now, I want to stress to you how important this is right now, and I know a few of you are trying to figure out what exactly is she going with this. In fact, I would suggest to you that this consistency leads to the accountability that we heard Professor Carl talk about earlier, that our accrediting body is not asking of us, it is demanding of us. A senior reviewer from Middle States recently informed us that the college is facing problems complying with 4 out of the commission's 14 standards. And she says, quote, this is a significant proportion. And these 4 standards address the heart of Montgomery College, the quality of its academic offerings. Now, what does this mean? Our college has to answer, I think, some hard questions about our institution for our accreditors. That is why we're in the process right now of developing our March report, a letter that we have to submit to address the Middle State concerns, some concerns that speak to the very way in which we have operated for some time at Montgomery College. There are a number of progress items that we have to report on, but I want to speak to one of them that I know many of you will be hearing a lot about. At some of your discipline meetings over the next few weeks, you'll be hearing about how the college is documenting our general education program, how to ensure that our students are engaging with all of the program competencies, and how we assess those competencies and use the results to improve student success. Middle States wants direct evidence of student learning. Direct evidence of student learning. We also have to plan to put in place to review every single one of our courses in our general education program, and that's not optional. That is over 240 courses, a quarter of all the courses we offer here. We have to assess and document evidence of student learning. Now, I know that this will mean hard work. I know it every day, and I know that I can hear it from you as I'm in your silent minds right now thinking about how we're going to get all that done. But I also know that we are capable, because we are Montgomery College, of meeting and exceeding those expectations by Middle State and demonstrating evidence to support our action. That is accountability. And accountability is a fundamental part of who we are as a college, so much so that it is a part of our new mission statement. And I don't believe that we can fulfill our mission until we create one college that responds to all of these issues that are being asked of us by our students, our community, and our accreditors. So that takes me to assumption 2. There is equity in the delivery of student services across our campuses. The diversity that we prize as an institution on each campus, I believe, based on the experience that I have talking with students, many of them across our institution, has resulted in contradictory experiences for a student who take classes across campus lines. As we move forward this spring, we're working to realign academic affairs and student services. This is going to help us look at several objectives. One, the promotion of college-wide approaches to the delivery of program and services. Academic renewal to respond to the increased use of outcome assessment data and the integration of planning and budgeting consistent with what Middle States has directed us. A significant look at resource reallocation. A rededication to the research into and incorporation of best practices in instruction and student support to better assure student goal completion. The completion initiative has not gone away. And more deliberate and proactive integration between academic affairs and student services actions. And finally, the third assumption that I'm challenging us to turn on our head. Our students attend only one campus. According to preliminary data that we have from this past fall, more than 11% of fall students took classes on more than one campus. That's more than 3,000 students. That number, I would offer and hypothesize, is going to significantly grow over the next several years. And the fact that our students are not confined to a single campus, dare I say our faculty and staff as well, is one reason why it is so important for us to start to look seriously at our athletics program and the recent rule change made by the National Junior College Athletic Association, or NJCAA. Under the new rules, a student has to take all of his or her classes on one campus to play on that campus's sports teams. Think about that. If a student wants to pursue health sciences at Tacoma Park, Silver Spring, and play at Rockville, he or she must choose. I don't believe that our students should have to sacrifice academic pursuits for athletics, and the reverse also applies. A student should not have to sacrifice team competition in a multi-campus organization. So when we heard about the NJCAA rule, and I'll tell you, it was a surprise to many of us, we decided to take a good long look at how we look at athletics at Montgomery College. I want to stress something, though, because I hear a lot of people say there's a master conspiracy theory here. The common student experience did not drive the athletic reform. Let me put it out there. Y'all know how I am. It's out there. It did not drive that. What drove it was a change in the rules by the body in which governs the way in which athletics are delivered at our institution. So, this reinvigoration of athletics, that's what we're calling it, that's our fancy way of saying it, is that we want to embrace this opportunity to make our teams the best they can and have it respond to the multi-campus rule that is in place by NJCAA. So how do we decide to reinvigorate athletics? First, we held forums and solicited feedback from students, faculty, and staff on all 3 campuses. Next, we conducted both written and online surveys to find out what intercollegiate and intramural sports students wanted to have on our campuses. And after taking all of that into account, the college has a new path ahead for its athletics programs for the 2012-2013 academic year. Therefore, listening to your feedback, starting this fall, we will have the college's intercollegiate men's baseball and women's volleyball teams housed at the Germantown campus. We will keep women's basketball, women's softball, men's and women's track, and men's and women's soccer at the Rockville campus. At the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus, we will have the college men's basketball team as well as women's and men's tennis. We are eliminating golf and cross country. And we are adding new intramural programs and sports across all 3 campuses to encourage sports and healthy competition among all students. Simply put, the multi-campus approach allows students to cross campuses to play sports. There are more details to talk about, and you will be receiving some communication later this week which talks more in depth about these issues. But what you're hearing today is just the beginning. We will continue to explore the feasibility of bringing other sports to our college and then ensure that we continue to make sure that these are the sports and teams the students see as relevant to what they do. And the one college principle will be evident as we move forward as we look at one set of college-wide colors and a mascot reflecting our whole institution. I am enthusiastic about the committee that's been at work at this. We have students, faculty, and staff who have elected to serve on this committee, and they have a plan about how we can move forward with this to infuse not only more school spirit within the institution, but also maybe generate more cheering fans in the stands. So I know that I have put a lot out here for you today. That's kind of how I do things. And I know that I've left you with a lot to think about, and you probably have quite a few questions that you're thinking about as well. And I also know that some of these challenges and changes that we've talked about over the last 16 or 18 months haven't been comfortable in all cases. But it's a process, I think, that this college has been working toward for many decades. Dare I say that this is the natural evolution of Montgomery College. I do know, though, that evolving into one college will have some challenges. But challenges and threats are seen as opportunities for community colleges that thrive. That theme is one of the 8 highlighted in the book that I mentioned at the beginning of my comments today, Community Colleges on the Horizon. I will not go into all 8 themes today. I'm tempted to do so, but I know I have to be cognizant of time. But I want to mention a few just to get you thinking. And these represent what our end goal should be, I think, in a thriving institution. Internal cohesion is a driving force underlying enhanced performance. The administrative structure of the institution is tightly coupled, enabling staff to work collaboratively toward achievement of important goals. Leaders are in place throughout the institution. These themes, as well as our recent initiatives, bolster a common goal that successful community colleges achieve to, quote, cultivate a clear conception to its stakeholders of what the institution is and what it stands for. Their focus is on the whole institution and clear messages about what that organization does for its stakeholders. I think we've started to make this a reality. Today, I've tried to lay forth, as I was counseled to do, the broad brushstrokes of the master plan. But I have to tell you that the details, the filling in, comes from each and every one of you. As I said before, I do not pretend to have all the answers. What I think I do, halfway good on occasion, is ask lots of questions. I have a few ideas every once in a while, but what I know for sure, and why I choose every day to work in a college, is that I'm surrounded by people who are smarter than me every day. So the answers about how we become one institution, how we make ourselves most relevant to the community and the students that we serve, to the employees who are part of this organization, will come from you. Each and every one of you who are sitting in this space, those of you who are watching us from a distance, those of you who are deeply invested in Montgomery College, the answers will come from you. So I know, in the words of the community colleges on the horizon, that there are lots of solutions out there, but some pretty bold questions that have to be asked. Is the college pursuing audacious goals? Does the college have the capacity for collaboration and partnering that significantly extends its operating resources? Do the leaders and staff share a deep sense of urgency about the future? We must constantly be thinking and trying to answer these types of questions. We must be an organization that is bold and audacious enough to be uncomfortable for a little while, because in the end, I believe it only makes us stronger. Reversing assumptions and combining disparate parts can create challenge or even friction sometimes, but it can also create magic. It may be the spark that we need to become the model of excellence that others rival and think about across this country. Maybe we become the Harrison College that I mentioned earlier, actualized in real life, an accountable measure and model of excellence across the country. We can indeed empower our students to change their lives and enrich the life of our community when we are a strong, united, one Montgomery College. Thank you all so much. I wish you the best semester, and I look forward to receiving feedback, because I know I will. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. And now take a little stretch, because we have one more group of speakers, and I'm sure they'll be dynamic, to tell you about the new governance structure. And there were a couple of words that Dr. Powell said at the very end, and I think it was the capacity to collaborate. And I realize that's exactly what this is. This new governance system will give us the capacity to collaborate. It'll give us a way to communicate across those college lines. So if I'd like to introduce, again, Dr. Brad Stewart and his team of co-chairs for the governance structure, the Blue Ribbon Task Force on Governance.
Jenny Palm and Amy Crowley, please come up here and help me, because God knows I need all the help I can get. And I'll let you play with the PowerPoint presentation. We made a briefing to Dr. Pollard a few weeks ago, and we had a draft of a PowerPoint that we were showing her. And I clicked too fast, according to Amy and Jenny, so they took the clicker away from me, and I haven't been allowed to touch it since then. So they're actually in charge of the audio-visual and all of the content of this upon reflection. So what we're trying to do today is bring you up to speed about what we have been doing during the fall semester. So we have been meeting in two groups, one to work on the elections process and one to work on the governance documents. This is the group, and you can look around and see who your particular representative is, who's representing your constituency. And I urge you to reach out and touch base with each of these people and ask them what they've been up to and what they've been doing. And if you have any questions at all about what we're going to say here today, please reach out to them. Please reach out to us on the web page. or if you're really interested, you can pick up the phone and call one of us if you have a question. But these are the folks that are on the committee, and here are the resource members who have been very valuable. Mr. Kane, Ms. Espinoza, and Kathy Westman, and there's the three of us. We look forward to hearing from all of you. I guess she's got it on a timer. There we go. Here's the governance model, or as some people have labeled it, the smiley face. I don't quite see it, but it's in there somewhere. I want to make a couple of points about this model that came up when we were getting feedback during the fall semester. First of all, it is not as complex as it looks. There's only really 3 levels here. Don't be fooled by the U-shaped thing that we had to do there in order to get it all on one sheet of paper so that we could see the whole visual in one piece. There's actually 3 levels: the councils, the college council, and the president. And we have designed this model with an intense amount of interaction between the councils. For example, we want the student council to feel free, if it comes up with an idea, to reach across to the Student Services and Success Council and say, what do you guys think about this? Is this an item that we might want to take up to the college council? And the college council might want to put that forward to Dr. Pollard. So we're very interested in making sure that you understand that there's a lot of cross-fertilization in the model. For example, the Operational Services Council might have something to say about, say, parking at the Germantown campus. And so they may send some sort of a set of ideas. Or the Tacoma Park Silver Spring Campus Council might have something about the curriculum that should go to the Faculty Council for consideration. So the idea here is that there is constant interaction between each of the councils. That's what's going to make the system work. That's what's going to make it collaborative. And that's the key part of this. So here's a timeline of where we've been and where we're going. In February of 2011, 11 months ago, Dr. Pollard charged us with creating a blue ribbon task force on governance. And during the spring semester of 2011, we put together a report in about 2 months and delivered it to Dr. Pollard. Dr. Pollard and the task force then went through several drafts of that report and then forwarded it to the Montgomery College Board of Trustees, who approved it in their May meeting. We're now in the implementation phase. We took a couple of deep breaths over the summer. The 3 of us got prepared for the implementation phase, and we have been working on the Constitution, the bylaws, and the elections process during the fall of 2011. And here's where we are. We have looking for feedback very soon on the bylaws, like today, starting today. We are starting an information session tour. If you want us to come to your group, please let us know. We would be glad to come and talk about the governance model. We hope to hold nominations, elections, and work on the handbook, training, and assessment during the spring of 2012. After that, Jenny and Amy and I, and perhaps some of the members of the task force, are looking forward to a vacation in Aruba on Dr. Pollard. So we've drafted a constitution. It's been posted online for feedback from the college community. Thank you all for your wonderful feedback. The TFG took a look at all of that feedback in a very long meeting, and we decided to take your suggestions and change the draft of the Constitution. In other words, we took your ideas and we put them into the new version of the Constitution. And here are some examples. We increased the number of full-time faculty on the campus councils. We eliminated the distinction between counseling and instructional faculty to leave the decision in the hands of the voters for elections to various councils. We eliminated counseling versus instructional faculty distinction on the functional councils to leave the decision in the hands of the faculty council who will appoint those members. We defined required meeting months during the academic year as September through May. Some of you said some of us aren't around here in the summertime and you can't have meetings then. We adjusted the CCC membership to reflect changes approved on August 2010 in the policies documents. We clarified that the curriculum and regulations representatives on the faculty council are faculty members. We broadened the library representatives on campus councils from librarian to library staff. And we edited the description and name of the Academic Services Council to eliminate duplication of topics and ensure curriculum falls under the Faculty Council. The curriculum belongs to the faculty in this governance model. Let me be clear about that and say that again. Control of the curriculum belongs to the faculty, where it has been for a long time at Montgomery College. So an updated version of the Constitution with all these changes is online. Please feel free to go to our website and take a look.
So this brings us to where we are today, the bylaws. So a draft of 13 sets of bylaws, one for each of the councils, is now posted on the governance website. And at this point, basically, we'd like your input on the bylaws. While we'd appreciate you looking at all of the bylaws, we realize we'll be reasonable here. We really want to specify that you really should be looking at your constituency group's bylaws, your council bylaws for your campus, and the 4 functional groups. Also, you may want to take a look at the college council bylaws as well. It's about 90% similarity in what you're going to find in the templates. Things were changed by titles of the group, meeting dates, some of the other things, but there's a lot of commonality in all these documents. And we did, in the template, leave a section where each of the councils will be able to create their own bylaws to add to this template, but there's a lot of commonality in this. And this is what the web page will look like. So all of them, you'll see they're all posted there. A lot of documents. And because there are a lot of documents there, what we ask that when you give us your responses, that you go to the link at the bottom of the web page, the same way you did for the Constitution, and email us your feedback. And we really need your feedback and appreciate it by January the 31st. And please, 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 when you send us your feedback, please tell us which document you're referring to. We didn't want to create 13 different mailboxes, so tell us which council bylaws you're referring to. It'll save us from having to email you back. So we're basically going to be using a similar process that we did for the Constitution. We'll sort out all the comments, and we'll take them to the entire task force to review. The final edits to the bylaws must be completed prior to nomination. So obviously we're working on a pretty tight timeline here. So again, that's why we're asking for your comments by January the 31st. And as Brad said, we're going on tour. Not just Brad, Jenny, and I, but all the members of the task force, because we realize we're going to be throwing a lot of information at you at this presentation. We want to be able to go and talk to smaller groups to go over the nomination and the election process and actually give you some visuals on the ballot and let you take a look at the software. So we'll be visiting academic assembly, faculty councils. We're going to be holding staff forums. We'll be visiting the SGA and chairs group. So we take requests. If you have a unit meeting or any other kind of meeting, contact Brad and Jenny and I, and we will schedule to be there. So this is the time for you to get involved. We want you to pay attention to the nomination system. Think about running, think about who you might want to nominate, because you'll be able to nominate other people in the system. And again, your own particular participation in a council.
So my subcommittee had the misfortune of working with me and having 8 a.m. meetings every week. And we also had the expert help of James Llewellyn and Scott Burnett in IT that we could not have done it without. And so this subcommittee, with their help, worked to identify an election management program that's well suited for our needs, and it really does it all. Nominations will be accepted March 5th through the 23rd, and as Joanne encouraged you, Amy's encouraged you, Dr. Pollard has encouraged you, we hope that you will nominate yourself, nominate others, and get involved. The nominations can be done from anywhere that you have internet access. You simply log in with your MyMC ID and password, so it's just like if you're checking into MyMC. And this is what the page looks like. It's personalized for Montgomery College. And we'll also have a presence on the campuses to encourage student participation. So we'll have pre-existing laptops and iPads available for them, try to catch them when they're coming into class and get them to nominate as well. So as I said, self-nominations and nominations of others are permitted. So if there's a student in your class that you think would be a really good fit, you can nominate them, you can nominate a peer, or you can nominate yourself. Rest assured, though, you do get the chance to accept or reject the nomination before we go forward. So the days of missing an email and taking your name off the list are gone. So the nomination ballot is preloaded with lists of those that are eligible for each position on each council, and it has an autocomplete function to help you find the appropriate person. We'll also have additional information to help distinguish between people with the same name. Remember that nominations are only for the constituent and campus councils, because the constituent councils will be appointing the functional councils. Also, the chairs of all the councils make up the college council. You can nominate numerous people for each position, and you receive a nomination receipt when you're done that you can review what you've done. Excuse me, I've cheered for the Ravens a little bit too much. So you can see here, whether it's for nominations or for elections, that you can see your vote and get a receipt from that. You can also be nominated for multiple councils. However, you can only run for one. So once the nomination period is over, from March 26th to the 30th, we have a way in sorting in the software to find out who was nominated for multiple councils, and we'll contact you and get you to choose which one you'd like to choose to run for. We'll also just do overall eligibility checks during that time. Then elections will be held April 2nd through the 11th, and they'll be done the same way with that same page you saw. You just log in with your MyMC ID and password. But again, to encourage student participation, we will be on the campuses with iPads and laptops to get them to vote on their way to class. We'll also have signage on the campuses to make everybody aware that it is elections week. Again, the software is preloaded with voter eligibility so that when you log in, you see just one ballot that has everything that you're eligible to vote for. So for instance, a Rockville-based staff member would be able to vote for the staff position on the Rockville Campus Council and on the staff council. Again, this took a lot of work from the IT team to do all the banner queries, and we really appreciate that. Something that I'm really excited about that I learned from my time as faculty council chair at Germantown is that the last question on everybody's ballot will be an opportunity to express interest in those functional councils. So when the constituent councils meet for the first time, they're going to need to make the appointments for the functional councils, but it would be nice if you knew who was actually interested and willing to serve. And so in that question, you can rank the 4 functional councils, which would be your first, second, third choice. You can skip that question if you're not interested. You can rank as many or as few as you would like. And then, like I said, the constituent councils will have this to use in making the appointments for those functional councils. You'll have the opportunity to review your vote and confirm it before submitting it. The votes are encrypted and kept anonymous. Also, the election is overseen by a neutral third party, and when we get the results back from it, the results are certified for security and confidentiality. Then we plan to announce the results of the election on April 13th.
So now that we have the council members elected, we have to hold the first meetings, and obviously we're on a pretty tight schedule to get this all done by graduation. So the first constituent and campus council meetings will be held by April the 25th. And then at that meeting, these 8 groups, basically the 4 constituent and the 4 campus councils, will elect their officers, they'll elect their chair, and the chair of each of these councils will become a member of the college council. Also at this first meeting, This is when they're going to use the names that Jenny just talked about that we're collecting on the ballot to identify people they want to select to serve on the functional groups. The next thing that'll happen is then, once the appointments are done to the functional groups, they'll hold their meeting by May the 15th, and they'll elect, again, their chair and their officers. And then finally, the last domino to fall basically will be the College Council as a whole will adjourn, which will be composed of all of the chairs of all the councils, and they'll elect their chair. And that takes us to the end of the academic year. We want to get these dates out to you, so we did a lot of planning here, and we have worked this out that all the governance groups or councils will meet either on a Tuesday or a Thursday. So we want to have you start thinking about this. And again, in detail, this is all in the bylaws. Every bylaw tells you. So if you want to know right now, I'm a faculty member at Tacoma Park, and I might be interested in running. If you look at the bylaws, you're going to be able to see if it's a Tuesday or if it's a Thursday, and if it's the first, the third, or whatever option. I'm not going to read this entire list, but we were very specific to arrange everything around Tuesday, Thursday, so everybody at the college knows Tuesday, Thursday afternoons are governance days. Another reason why we had to have them different dates is we want to allow for room usage, especially video conferencing, so that everybody could have an option to use that. We wanted to have the ability for Dr. Pollard, Dr. Kane, and other resource people to be able to get to meetings and not have conflicting dates. And again, we want to have you keep in mind right now, start thinking about your schedule for the fall semester. If you're interested, you will know right now when the council is going to meet. One other thing I want to point out, we have the option on this. If a group wants to meet 2 times a month, they can do that, and that'll all be decided at the first meeting. Training is another aspect of things we're going to be working on this spring semester. We hope to develop a web tutorial training, but due to the time that we have right now, it'll probably be an in-person training. And so for the first year, we'll have an in-person training done during professional week in the fall. All members of governance must go through training. Another document we'll be working on is a handbook. We've got the Constitution, we got the bylaws, but we have a list that's growing and growing, and Eileen Cotter keeps adding things to the list that I'm keeping. Thank you, Eileen. So there are things such as the standing committees will be in that list, the background, the history of governance at the college, details on the nomination of the election process, the assessment tools, processes, form, and so on and so on. So it's going to be a pretty lengthy document. It's really the how-to of the governance system at the college.
One really important next to last point. This thing is not carved in stone. We understand that there are lots of things that need to be considered, particularly during its first and second year of operation. So we have designed in, or will design in from the beginning, a set of assessment tools to see how effectively the new governance system is operating. And we will be reaching out to the entire campus community to gather information after the first year that the system has been up and running so that we can make changes. So each council will have an opportunity to assess its own effectiveness. Did it achieve the goals that it set? And was it effective in reaching out to its constituents? And then the entire college community will have an opportunity to assess the governance system as a whole. Effective systems of governance always have processes by which they change and amend things. And so we were very conscious that this governance structure has the opportunity built into it to get all of your feedback. Contact us if you have any questions, have any ideas, particularly if you have assessment tools or ideas for the handbook, Constitution, and the bylaws. Here are the ways in which you can get in touch with us. Please contact your constituent representative on the TFG and invite us to your next meeting. There's something really important about this document. We have dramatically expanded the participation level in college governance at Montgomery College. I don't know how many of you have been watching the train wreck that has been the debates for the Republican candidates for president. Sorry if there are any Republicans in the room. To me, that whole operation and what they're doing can sour you on representative democracy. But I think this sort of restores at some small level our faith that representative democracy can work, at least inside of an institution of higher education. So please contact us. Thank you, and take care.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the Task Force on Governance, the Blue Ribbon Task Force on Governance. I have time for a couple of announcements. The first is there are 2 room changes for the discipline meeting. So if you're in computer applications, listen up. Computer applications will now meet in K-Fritz 234. And computer science, everybody in computer science listening? You are now in K-Fritz 237. So those are changes from the printed list. K-Fritz for computer applications, 234 in K-Fritz. For computer science, 237 in K-Fritz. I'd like to thank everybody who participated with me in this meeting, and again to thank all of you for coming. It's been a great time. And remind you that now there are, actually, does anyone in the audience have announcements for us? We have a couple of minutes for that. Anybody? Something about today, something about the rest of the spring semester? Okay. I'll take that as a no. Our next events for all of you will be a faculty and AAUP meeting here in this room around 10:10 a.m. That'll be led by Rick Penn from the AAUP. For the staff, you'll have a staff forum in CU 208. That'll be led by Julie Foster. And SEIU, the part-time faculty, will have a faculty meeting in CF 101. I believe it's Dan, whoever the leader is there. And so that's CF 101. They're all on your agenda. They're also on those discipline meeting lists. So all that being said, I hope you guys got a lot out of this meeting. I hope everybody's revved up and watching for the changes that are happening and how you can be a part. Stay a part of this place because we really value every input you've had so far and the future. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.